to All About Boston. I'm Seth McCoy. Tonight we are continuing the series of talking to at-large City Council candidates. My guests tonight are Marty Keogh, Keith Kenyon, and Catherine O'Neill. We're going to start the show off with Marty Keogh. I want to remind viewers at home that if you want to tune in again, you can certainly watch BNN throughout the week to see reruns, and you can also tune into our YouTube channel. If you just go into YouTube and search for All About Boston. And also, we're on Facebook, so definitely sign up and like our page. Marty Keogh, welcome to All About Boston.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
So you're running for at-large city council. You used to work for an at-large city councilor,
Yes.
Peggy Davis-Mullen.
Yes.
Is that, when you worked for Peggy, did you sort of think in the back of your mind, one day I'm going to run for city council?
I think, like most people that run for office, you get the bug, and I probably got it about 22 years ago when I first met Peggy. But while I was working for her, I immensely enjoyed doing public service. I like to help people. I hadn't thought about running when I was working for her because I was working so much there wasn't time to even think about running. And then when she ran for mayor of Boston and lost to our good Mayor Thomas Menino, I went into private practice and started a whole different career of helping people in a different way.
Mm-hmm. And so when you realized that there was going to be a change in who our next mayor will be, did you sit back and think, obviously this is going to open up a number of seats on the city council. Did you think for 1 minute, okay, maybe I'll run district, or was it automatically, I'm going to run for at-large?
I never thought about running district for a couple of reasons. One is Matt O'Malley's my district councilor. He's doing an excellent job. He's a great kid and everybody likes him. Second is that I wouldn't mind doing district issues like potholes, streetlights, etc. And I will do them if people call me. But I think of myself more as an issues-oriented candidate, schools, public safety, economic development. It's not to say that a district councilor can't do that, but a citywide councilor is, it's more what they do, are issues-related
Yeah, I
things.
think you're right. I think that a lot of times the district councilors, that's really their bread and butter, is dealing with the constituent services. And at large, you do have a better chance and opportunity to work on the larger issues. So if education is one of your issues, what do you see right now in Boston Public Schools that you would want to change, that you would want to work to better?
Well, I'll tell you, the reason I got into politics in the first place 22 years ago was because of the Boston Public Schools. I was a kid, I went to the Boston Public Schools. I dropped out in the 10th grade, a big mistake. But there were a lot of reasons.
But you did okay for yourself.
Yeah, you know.
Not that we want to advocate for people dropping out of school, but.
No, I tell everybody I would trade my law degree and my college degree to get my high school degree. I missed my graduation. I missed the prom. I missed everything. It was just a big mistake I made. But I never thought for a second that I wasn't going to make something of my life. At the time, I had some issues going on at home. My parents were getting divorced. This is in the early 80s. The tail end of busing was still happening. There were a lot of kids in my school that didn't want to be there, and there were a lot of kids who were my friends. They couldn't go to that school, so it was really like going to that school was like going to a foreign place, and that's not the way it should be. So that's exactly why I got involved in the public schools, in politics, was because of the public schools. And now, 22 years later, the schools have gotten better. The assignment plan is going in the right direction, but I think more needs to be done. First of all, we need more schools in neighborhoods, and we need better schools in every neighborhood. But if I am to get elected, what I'm running on is that I definitely want to work on the dropout rate. Being a dropout, I know how it affects somebody for employment. I mean, nowadays, you have to have a college degree to get a job, never mind a high school degree.
Right. Although I think that's something, and I've talked about that here on the show before, is that there's such a focus of people getting a college degree, but we should also encourage kids to go to vocation schools, because there are vocations that we need people to fill those roles. So it shouldn't all be about college. Before we talk a little bit about that, I just want to remind people, if they have a question, they can call into the show, 617-708-3290.
Call me, I'd love to hear from you.
But you know what I mean? It's like, so the focus, I think, for maybe 10, 15 years has been get a college degree, get a college degree, get a college degree.
It is.
But there are great jobs that you can get if you go to a vocational school.
When I went to Hyde Park High School, they did have a machine shop, and that was they had me on the college course. And when things started to go south, I did go into the machine shop, thinking that maybe I might have to pick up a trade. Nowadays, we only have, I think it's Madison Park as the trade shop, if I get elected. And I think our next mayor, I hope he does this. I don't know who that is going to be. But I would like to see them put some sort of a trade shop in every school. So for the kid that just isn't going to go to college or doesn't want to go to college, but is good with his hands, what's the old Aesop's fable saying? Give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Give him a fishing pole, he eats for life.
Right, exactly.
If a kid doesn't want to go to college, there's a lot of kids out there that just don't want to go.
Right. Here's a little tidbit for you. I actually did vocational school, not vocational school, but they were woodwork and metal shop, and I actually took them when I was in high school. Imagine that.
When I was in elementary school, I took sewing, I took cooking. I used to get picked on by everybody in my neighborhood. I got bullied, but you know.
Yeah.
But I still sew my own clothes. I still cook. I do things. My wife's a great cook, so I let her do the cooking now. But yeah, they had the trade school in Hyde Park High School, and that was good for someone like me that was just basically going the other direction. And a lot of kids in there, I still are friendly with them today. Some of them did go to college, but some of them have you know, good jobs. Like, well, Gillette's gone now, but they got jobs in big corporations.
Right, absolutely. So what else? Public safety is another big issue.
Yeah, huge. I mean, you know, with all that's gone on in the last couple of weeks, you know, that poor girl in South Boston, you know, they found her in my hometown of Hyde Park. I live in West Roxbury now, but that area, when we were kids, we used to skate on Smithfield all the time, you know, run in the woods, everything. When I found it was there, I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. But you've had a bunch of shootings in Dorchester, a couple of murders, Beacon Hill, women getting mugged, groped. You know, I definitely would like to see. I think the commissioner's doing a great job.
The North End too.
The North End, yeah, you can't, yeah, absolutely. And the North End is just strange. It happens. It goes where it happens. It's like
Well, you know what? Because I used to live in the North End, and when I lived there, it was really people looked out for each other, and you know, there were the old ladies and the old men, and if something happened, it would get cleared up. Like, true story. Somebody I know had a bike stolen from them. They mentioned it to the landlord. Was back the next day.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think that happens anymore. And I think we need to try to get to that point again throughout the neighborhoods in the entire city, so that people are looking out for each other. The fact that there could be two guys, one in the North End and one in Beacon Hill, running around attacking women.
It's crazy.
And nobody, you know, nobody's seeing it. Nobody's been able to like apprehend these guys.
I don't think I'm that old, but when I was a kid, it was policing by mom. And you're right, exactly. If something happened, you know, your mother told the kid's mother that started the problem, and they solved it that way. And the North End, I mean, you know, I'm a little bit older now, but I used to go to the North End at like 1, 2 in the morning after being out with friends, and I never ever felt unsafe there.
Go to Bova Bakery.
Yeah, Bova, my favorite place. Yeah. And I would go there. Still today, I still don't feel unsafe going there, but I realize that the people who do live there are, you know, that shouldn't be happening. And I think it's not the Boston Police. They're doing a great job. I'd like to see if we had money in the budget to hire more police or shift police over to those areas. Chinatown, too, another place.
Right.
You know, the cameras aren't going to stop crime, but they will deter crime, and they'll help solve crimes, as we saw over at Northeastern University. So my little boy is 2 years old, and you know, I'd like to, you know, I used to laugh when my mother would say, "You better be careful," you know, and that's the way I am with my kid now. I don't want Nolan to go out. I don't want to grow up in a world where he's going to be afraid of walking down the street, and I want to do something about that. Not just my kid, every other person's kid, the elderly, you know, my neighbors, etc. So,
are you going to put Nolan in public school?
I'm more than likely. He's not eligible to be in there for 2 more years. The one thing that's going to kill me is that if we don't get our neighborhood school, right now we live in West Roxbury, so if we get the Kilmer School, great. If we get Beethoven, great. But if they send him to a school across town, that's going to cause a dilemma for me and for my son.
Right.
First of all, he's going to be on a bus when he could be studying, number one. And number two, like any other parent, you just don't want your kid in a bus, you know. And if you got to drive there, it's probably just the same waste of time, you know. But anyway.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we're spending so much money on transportation, and that money could be going towards schools, could be going towards teacher salaries.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, people talk about, oh, teachers make too much money, but a lot of teachers are buying their own supplies. They're not really, it's not how people think it is.
Yeah, I talk to teachers every day. I can't even tell you how many teachers come up and tell me, you know, what's going on. We do need more.
Wow, some action in the studio. Little something dropped. It's okay. We're all good.
But yeah, we definitely need more books. We need the teachers are doing a great job with the resources and the money they have. You know, the Boston Public Schools probably needs more money to fund what they need to do. But also, we've got to stop the drain of money that's coming out of the public schools.
Right.
The charter schools are, you know, it's a great concept, but I think that the solution to solving the public schools isn't creating more charter schools. It's making the public schools stronger. What I'd also like to see, you know, when I went to Hyde Park High School, you know, I played hockey, I played baseball. I was too small to play football. I was just, you know, just too small of a kid. But I'd love to see every sport in all those schools. And that's another, you know, if we were to have a school in every neighborhood and we're able to cut down on the transportation costs, that money could go to funding programs and funding books. And my thing is that if you can keep a kid in school or occupied, then he won't get in trouble like I did when I was younger.
Right, absolutely. Another major thing that the City Council does is vote on the budget.
Yes.
So if you were on the City Council this past year, would you have passed the budget as it was?
I would have squawked for a little bit more in certain places. I know it's a very tough job, and the councils there are doing a great job. it's a tough job being on the council because you cannot add to the budget. You can
Right.
only take away from the budget. And if you want something, you really got to cause a ruckus. And if you cause a ruckus, then you're on the mayor's bad side. It's like
Or at least on this mayor's bad side. So hopefully moving forward, there'll be maybe some more interaction and some changes.
to his credit. I mean, he did a great job for the last
Yeah.
20 years. So obviously whatever he did was right. So, but I would do my best. I can't add to the budget, but I would, advocate to get what I need in the budget.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that has annoyed me throughout the years is that at budget time, you see people coming in and approaching the city councilors and asking for support, and they want this money and they want that money.
Yeah.
And I feel like in some cases people are misled to think that they can go to the city council and say, we want, X amount of dollars for this, help us get it, when you almost have to start, now.
Yeah.
To argue for next year's budget to say this is what we're looking for, and then really push on the mayor and the administration, look to the city councilors to get that support, but it's not the city council who can add the money.
It's the role of the city council. We are the most accessible. The mayor, you could probably go to his house and knock on the door and he'd answer the door, but
Right.
he's not as accessible as the city council is because he's got a very, very busy job. But when I worked in the city council 12 years ago for another councilor, we always had parents coming in. They were always looking for money for the schools, and it was just really, really tough. But I know the mayor did add money to the school budget because he was definitely the education mayor.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's the most surprising thing that you've found out while campaigning? I mean, obviously you've had that sort of feel for the entire city, where some of the other candidates, it's the first time going to certain parts of the city, but during this campaign, what are you finding that's maybe new or that's changed from 12 years ago?
I ran 6 citywide campaigns, and I still, one of the things like the guys and the women that run my campaign are, you're not the campaign manager, you're the candidate, But I go out, and it's just surprising how the population has changed and shifted. Before
Yeah.
South Boston was still a very powerful, strong voting bloc, but totally changed. You've got the waterfront down there. Hyde Park, a very good, actually it's still a very good voting bloc, but the population has changed. It's a lot of people have moved out, but a lot of new people have moved in. And along with those people that are moving in, their needs have changed. But the public schools and public safety are still the top 2 issues for any person.
Those are the 2 issues you hear most about?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's the, if people will move into a city if it's got a great school system and it's safe. And if it doesn't, they'll move right out. And that's what's happening right now with, I'm surprised. I was in Jamaica Plain, and I went to one of the festivals there, and I was talking to a couple of women. And, I did my whole pitch. Will you vote for me? Oh, sorry, we can't. We just moved out. So I wanted to say, was it because of the schools? And I did. I said, why'd you move out? It was because of the schools. And it's the same story, Charlestown, East Boston, everywhere
Right.
you go.
Right.
But now the crime thing is creeping up,
Right,
So.
absolutely. Yeah, people are scared. I mean, it's, obviously crime happens in big cities and you have to be aware, but overall, Boston is a safe city. You just have to be aware of your surroundings and...
Anywhere. You
Right.
can go to the safest city in America, and you got to be aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely.
But
Why should people vote for you?
well, because I have the energy, the experience, and I have a lot of ideas. So one of the ideas I have is that I'd like the city to inventory every single vacant lot that they have, categorize it into, is it suitable for housing, schools, open spaces, or economic development? And once we've identified that, we work with the trade unions, for example, and see if we can get workers to come in, stop building housing there, and people who can't afford housing for a conventional loan. The city, if we can get the city to float some municipal bonds to provide the funding for these houses, so these people that buy the houses are paying their mortgage back to the city.
Yeah, because that's another big issue is housing in the
huge.
city. How can people find out more about you? Do you have a website?
Yeah, it's I haven't put it on my website yet, but it'll be up in the next day or two. My website is www.martinjkeogh.com.
Perfect. I want to thank you so much for being here and wish you the best of luck.
Can I say one more
September.
thing?
Of course.
Will you please consider giving me one of your 4 votes, and you too, Seth.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with Keith Kenyon. Stay tuned.